Let's dive into our first topic today, guys. After a quick word from FanDuel, you can tackle all the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. But, Bull, we start today with the NBA and the Cleveland Cavaliers. On Wednesday, the Cavs lost to the Hawks 135-124. Afterwards, Kenny Atkinson called the game a stinker. And it's only the Cavs' second loss of the season. They're still 17-2. But tonight we get a chance, and actually today, because they play at 2:30, get a chance to see how the Cavs will respond to their first stinker of the season. Jason, you were there. G, Bull, how do you think the Cavs will respond to their first really subpar performance of the first quarter of the year?
First of all, it was a weird game because they got off to that great start. They had, an 18-point lead? 19-point lead. And then they just were horrible after that. I mean, for the first time since like the second week of the season before the winning streak got interesting, I'm like, I've lost a little momentum on my excitement for the regular season because now they've lost to a bad team for the first time. And you're like, all right, now we're in the drudgery of the regular season.
That didn't take long.
Now, I'm still excited about the Celtics on Sunday and the Nuggets next week, but am I excited against the Bucks today? Yeah.
Will you watch the Hawks today?
I'm sorry, the Hawks. I meant the Bucks. To be honest, I will not watch because I'm going to an escape room this afternoon at the same time. I forgot the game was in 2:30 in the afternoon.
Wow, escape rooms are kind of cool.
What is that exactly?
They're
Is that
fun.
the video game or is that where
No.
you break shit?
No, I don't think you break shit.
You basically go in and so you have to find out with a group of people. They lock the doors.
Yeah.
They do have a monitor up there where they monitor the room, and you go through the room and check out these clues. And once you get the clues, it leads you to another part of the room
Yeah.
to get to these steps.
You're locked in a room and you have to escape.
And then
And you got an hour to do it.
Yeah.
My son did it with 4 of his friends last week at the easiest level.
Yeah.
And it was an hour, and they solved it with 2 seconds left on the clock.
Oh, wow. So do you work together or are you on your own?
We do. No, we work together.
Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you what. I went to one and I thought I was challenging myself on my skill set. Man, it was hard, bro. Like it was crazy. They had all kind of math problems. They had geography.
Which one did you go to?
Man, I forget which one it was. I got it on a Groupon. This was like 3 years ago.
Was it Crocker Park or no?
That was that one.
Yeah,
it was.
that's where we're going.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
It was on the hardest level.
Yeah.
It was hard. Like,
All right.
It wasn't
So
playing
It
around.
should be fun. So because I honestly, when I made the plans, I didn't even realize the Cavs were playing a day game today.
Yeah.
But can we learn anything? I mean, like.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, where I'm at with the Cavs, obviously they're playing really, really well. If you want to focus on something that they need to work on, it's defending the three-point line. They're second worst team in the league right now at defending the three-point line. And you know, Kenny said a couple games ago, well, everybody shoots threes. And that's true. Everybody's making threes now.
Yeah.
But you can't use that as an excuse not to run guys off the line and not to
Well,
guard
if you're the
line.
second worst, then even though everybody's shooting them, you're doing a worse job than everybody else.
Yeah, they're giving up. I just looked it up this morning. I think it's like 39% they're allowing at the three-point line.
Yeah.
Only the Hawks are worse, who they play today.
Yeah.
So we talked about it before the season. There was going to be a little bit of slippage on the defensive end just by nature, and that's okay. Like it's okay, but you can't just let teams roam free on the three-point line. So if you're looking for something to clean up, that's it. Their defensive rating has slipped a little bit the last couple of weeks. Clean that up a little bit. Again, you don't have to lead the league in defense.
No.
You just can't be at the bottom.
No, you got to be top 10, right?
So,
top 15.
I mean, you top 15. Just be in the top half. That's really it.
It seems like since the Celtics game, they have not played well defensively. Even the 2 wins they had between.
Who they go through?
Who were those 2 games they played since the Celtics, between the Celtics and the Hawks,
They beat
Mike?
the Raptors and
Charlotte? No, that was before the
Charlotte was before.
Celtics.
I'm pulling up the schedule real quick.
It seemed to me that they've given up a lot of easy
The Raptors
shots
in New Orleans. They smoked
in
New
those
Orleans.
last 4 games, even though they scored a lot of points. Maybe,
Well, they held New Orleans to 100. Now, that was a shorthanded team.
Pelicans said nobody.
They held Toronto to 108. I mean, that in today's day and age, 108 is a great defense.
Right, but maybe they just weren't knocking down their shots. It just seemed like their defense on the 3-point line has been, these last 4 games, particularly bad.
Now, look, we talked about it before, and we do this a little bit ourselves, is we look at the way the Cavs are playing, and then we take a look at the way they lost to the Celtics, and we take away from that game. Well, the Cavs are right there with the Celtics. They lost on the road, and it was a close game early in the season, and they continue to keep rolling. But I actually liked that they got beat like that. I'm really happy that they got beat in that particular way, because Jason is right. He's 1,000% correct. You don't have to be the best defensive team in the league in order to get where you want to go, but you got to be middle of the pack, and especially when it comes to guard the 3-point line, you better do that, because the Celtics do that better than anybody. I see sometimes that the Cavs get into lazy closeouts. Sometimes they get into this thing where they're daring people to shoot. Like, I'll close out on you once you hit 2 in a row, and we can respect that. No. You're going to have to, in today's NBA where everybody is knocking down threes, big men is knocking down threes, you can't let any team get into the rhythm and continuously let them shoot. And you saw it. They were up 18 points. And then all of a sudden, the Hawks was like, oh, y'all going to let us shoot these threes out here? And so when you're shooting at that level, it's kind of hard to turn off somebody's water once they get in the rhythm. Then you're in a dogfight at that point. So for me, I think it's something that they can look, and they need to ratchet that down a little bit. They need to consistently run these guys off the 3-point line. And there's a bit of a focus thing. Like, there's great coaching points that say, hey, guys, listen, we believe we was drinking our own Kool-Aid. Like, we're not, this season is young. Yeah. We're not in the finals yet. Let's get it going.
And Trae Young, I mean, he shot terribly in this game, right? What?
Yeah, he didn't shoot 6 to 18 from the floor. He had 22 assists, so shout out to Trae Young.
Yeah, which is great. 22 assists is crazy.
Yeah, they made the comeback in the.
See, Mike, you ripped him.
Well, hold on.
And he played his most unselfish game ever.
I say he's a good passer. He's talented. Yeah. They did make their 19-point comeback in the first quarter with him on the bench. So.
Okay, but then they still won the rest of the way.
Just saying, his plus-minus in the game was 5, and they won by 10, so it wasn't all him. Jalen Johnson played really well.
I didn't say it was all him. He shot poorly, but
Trae Young played a good game.
I'm with Mike.
Absolutely.
I don't like Trae Young as a player. I would not want him on my
I'm just
team.
saying, in this game, you get 22 assists.
Yeah, he's fine.
I'm not talking about him career-wise. I'm just talking about this one particular game.
He was cooking. He
had a good game.
He got his guys involved on the road, and that's what you want to do.
It was funny because he was terrible from 3, and they had one other guy go 0 for 8. I can't remember who it was.
But they had
and then they had everybody else shot the lights out.
So I thought this was really interesting. After the game,
or
actually before the game, excuse me, I asked Kenny Atkinson, when you get the numbers after a game, what numbers do you particularly look at? Like, which ones do you care about that maybe we're not aware of, and which ones don't you care? And he goes, I don't care about the regular box score, traditional stats, rebounds, points, whatever. That's not relevant to us. He's like, I'm not going to tell you all the stats I care about, but here's one that I think is interesting, and it doesn't give anything away. And I thought 2 nights ago on Wednesday, it is relevant to what happened. He said one of the things we look at halftime and one of the things we look at immediately after the game is how the opponent shot over expected. So, hey, they may have made 23s, but based on the quality of look they got, they just made some shots tonight. Like, we give 80 points.
Yeah.
But their shot quality was 60%. That means we're doing some good stuff defensively. They're making shots. Now, on the flip side, if they score 80 points in the first half and their shot quality is 97, then, our defense sucks. So just because they score doesn't necessarily mean it's bad defense. Now, we don't have access to those numbers and how they calculate and track good looks versus bad looks. That's their own
That's
formula.
them doing that
That's
on their
them
own.
doing it. It's not an NBA.com
but
stat.
there is an NBA stat of shooting percentage over
there is, but
expected.
They do it within their version of we want to get
so
a shot.
I got what you're saying.
My point is getting back to the game against the Hawks. As a team, Atlanta made 23s. And we don't know their exact numbers. So I'm not saying this is what Kenny said. Kenny told us that pregame, not postgame. He made a point to say we have to guard the three-point line better. And that's been pretty clear. Jason's point, they're second worst in the NBA in opposing a three-point shot percentage against. They got way too many open looks from 3. And I think when Kenny goes back and the staff goes back and they watch the film, they're going to see a ton of opportunities where they did not make the necessary effort to force the extra pass and just succeed.
Yeah.
Not succeeded.
Let me ask
allowed too many open opportunities for Atlanta.
Let me ask you this question, McNuggets. You know, we talk about the league being like a copycat league. Everybody shoots threes now. And the way we got here was, it's almost like Daryl Morey. Like, he's like, yeah, we're just going to, we want dunks, layups, or threes, right? And D'Antonio was another guy that was like, okay, well, we'll just take these threes, right? So at what point defensively in the NBA do they just say, look, we don't care if they get 97 layups at the rim. We don't give up threes here. None. We don't care if you drive. We're not giving up driving kicks. You better drive and finish. We're not giving up no threes, and that is our adjustment. At what point does the league say, who cares about the layups if you want? Because everybody wants these threes. Everybody. They built their whole team around it.
Jason, you want to take a stab at that? I have an idea, but it's just a theory.
If you go to that extreme and you constantly leave, you're going to get beat on. You're going to get beat on layups. The percentage that you're shooting layups is a lot higher percentage than teams. Even wide open threes, you're still missing 60% of them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you could go the other way and say, we are not giving up a layup. You can have all the 3-pointers you want. You're probably going to lose, but they're still going to miss, on an average night, they're going to miss 60% of those. Where layups, you ain't missing 60% of the layups. You're going to hit every single one of those. Is that, I don't know.
Yeah, well, because, so for example, right, against the Cavs on Wednesday, Atlanta shot 42 threes, and they shot 45 twos. On twos, they went 26 of 45. If you make those all layups and dunks, and essentially and even if you have a Wemby or a Mobley or an Allen,
40 out of 45.
You're going 37 of 45, and at that point, you're getting more free throws. Guys are going to foul a ton. If you're just challenging, like your big guys are going to be an absolute hell trying to just constantly defend without fouling. I hear what you're saying. I think Boston and the teams that can switch, OKC can do this pretty well, switch 1 through 5 and just try to force isolation basketball is the best bet against the three-point barrage. Say, hey, if you want to go one-on-one with 6 seconds on the shot clock, even if you take a three, it's going to be a contested end of shot clock, more difficult look. But, yeah, it's tough to play defense in the NBA.
You know what's funny is you could change the NBA tomorrow just like this. If 2-pointers were now worth 3 and 3-pointers were worth 4.
The math.
The NBA would change like this.
I heard a fascinating I was talking to a buddy this week.
Yeah.
And he works in basketball.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you think if we just limited the amount of 3-pointers a team could take to 40? In any game, you could take up to 40. Once you hit 40, even if it's in the third quarter, you can't take any more.
I don't know.
I heard something along those lines.
I kind of like that.
Somebody said you could. It was a little different. They said, listen, we're going to give you 3 points for your first 23-point shots. Anything after 23s, they only count as 2. Right, so basically, if you want to shoot all those threes and that's what you guys want to do, if you max that out,
but the league doesn't want to do this. So they
I don't know.
If you max it out,
another thing you could do is have the 3-point line start at the foul line extended. So there's no
corner threes, which is the easiest shot or the easiest 3 in theory.
Right.
If you limited it, because think about it, if I hit 15 threes in the first half, and I know for a fact that if we hit a couple more threes, I'm not getting an advantage of having those be 3, and they're 2-point shots.
Right.
People are going to say, "Why would I shoot that? Let me get to the basket."
Right, yeah.
Like I have to change the way I'm thinking about it because there's no real benefit of it.
Yeah, I mean it would make games more competitive too because teams.
Jason, what do you think the league thinks about the
Are ratings down at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is a big thing.
See, I don't. I like I said, I've been having fun watching the Cavs, and they've been a fun team to watch. But I do, and I've said this, and I think a lot of people my age and older feel this way, that this current state of the NBA is boring because there's no mid-range game and there's no back-to-the-basket centers like that old school time. I was just watching this mixtape, this highlight of like Magic Johnson making all these crazy passes and shots. And I'm like, nobody really does that anymore.
Yeah.
Like once in a while you'll see it, but it just doesn't exist.
I know the league is hell-bent on fixing the All-Star game. And the All-Star game, to me, is sort of a picture of everything else. Like, I talked about this last year.
Yeah.
You could date back how the game got here. You can go back 20 years ago when David Stern and Jerry Colangelo got in a room together and said they were going to change the rules after some of those Allen Iverson finals when it's 80-76 in the finals game. And they voted to take out, I think, hand checking, a couple other things. They tried to open up the game, and the owners voted it down. And David Stern said, "Nope, go back in there and vote again. This is happening," and basically rammed it through.
Right.
And that is what started everything that you see leading up to last year's All-Star game, which was an absolute debacle,
disaster.
And that's sort of a synopsis of where the rest of the league is. So does the league want the league wants scoring? They want excitement.
Yeah.
But the bigger thing to me, I always will go back to this, stars drive ratings. People want to see stars.
Yeah.
And the league is actively working to disassemble star-driven teams. That, I think more than anything, is what's going to impact the ratings.
Yeah, certainly.
So, and this is what they wanted. This is what they wanted. And you're going to have an OKC Cleveland finals at some point here in the next couple of years. I absolutely believe that. Although a couple of years ago I thought it was like, what if it's like Cleveland Memphis when Ja was
But it's
really
not
rolling?
even just about Cleveland, because when LeBron was here, it was fine that it was Cleveland, right?
Because he's the biggest star in the league.
Right, but neither Oklahoma City or Cleveland have any sexy superstars.
Not the household names.
Yeah, right.
They got really good players.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is fantastic, but he's not a sexy name in the NBA.
Because he plays in OKC.
Right, yeah.
And I will say, you brought up a good point about the way people play. So the diversity was there. Like, you had Michael Jordan, who, had the fadeaway, and also had, the mid-range turnaround game, right? But you had guys like Charles Barkley that was 6'4" with a unique game. And you had Patrick Ewing. You had David Rodgers. None of those guys played alike. None of them. Even John Stockton and Magic Johnson with his passes.
I mean, do you even have a player like Dennis Rodman anymore who's just like, I guess maybe, right? Like,
no.
I know he's extreme, but... And
Ben Wallace was the same way.
Ben Wallace was the same way.
Yeah.
And think about it like this. You got guys like Anthony Edwards, right?
Yeah.
One of the most athletic guys in the game. You got guys that are like, Giannis and all these other guys. And then what they realized was, so I should just shoot 10 threes again.
Right.
Instead of being, let me get in the open court.
Right.
Speaking of highlights, remember the dunks, the athleticism, the finishing at the rim? You rarely even see that anymore. Because people are like, all right, well, I'm going to just shoot these threes.
One other thing I wanted to take out of Mike said that's kind of completely different than what we were just talking about. First of all, I thought it was a great question that you asked him. I love that question because I am somebody who's like nerdy and curious about that stuff. And I love that his answer was not a traditional stat, because we as a media in whole, I don't know what the word I'm trying to get.
Totality.
Mike says totality all the time, and I think it doesn't make sense half the time he says it, so I didn't want to say it. When we judge teams and players, we do it on old school traditional stats, and in many, many cases, they are not really representative of how good a player is. Even when we talk about all the time, how many touchdowns does that quarterback have? Right? If
that drives me crazy, because you could throw a 68-yard pass, get to the goal line and run it in, and you don't get credit for it.
Exactly.
Or you could run it all the way down, play action in the end zone.
Exactly.
Or throw a 1-yard screen pass to the receiver, and 7 guys miss.
And we have to do it this. Even those of us who are interested, first of all, the word analytics has freaked people out. We should have never used that word. It's just newer stats. That's all it is. And people don't understand them because they're complicated, and there's snobby people who came up with them that don't explain them well. And so people's, it's easy to keep track of wins and runs and RBIs. It's easy to keep track of yardage. Do you think there's actually an NFL team that cares about the yardage allowed?
I think
I don't think there's a single team that when they're analyzing their defense is like, all right, how many total yards did we give up?
It's all about framing. I think some people don't like analytics because it's perceived as elitist.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Because
they use that word, and because it's a bunch of nerds that created these things.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you should always be trying to find a way to more accurately see who the better player is. There's no, I mean, it's insane that people. I think about not that long ago. I can't remember what year it was, but sometime in the last 10, 12 years, Rick Porcello beat Justin Verlander for a Cy Young because he had 22 wins that year. I don't remember what year it was, but not that long ago. And that's in baseball, which has been into analytics way longer. That's why he won. Justin Verlander was better at every possible statistic except for the wins.
2016.
2016?
Yeah.
That was 8 years ago. Rick Porcello, look at his stats, the rest of their stats compared to Verlander. Not close.
But the thing that you do that a lot of people don't do is this. You can't take it in, we just talked about the movie Silo. You can't take it in a silo. And you actually have to watch the game, and then from what your eyes tell you, you use analytics to further validate what you're seeing or dig deeper and check it out to see if that's correct.
That's fair.
Because if I'm looking at the game and I'm like, man, he's really good, and you say, well, let me look at these advanced analytics. And advanced analytics can tell you, well, all right, he is good, but pump your brakes, right? Here's some things. Or he is good, and he's actually better than you actually thought because of this, and that. It goes in tandem.
Because again, all we do, especially like defensive player of the year, it comes down to sacks and storyline. That's who wins. It's based on sacks and storyline.
You're right.
Once in a while, if somebody has a huge interception number, that factors in. Otherwise, it's only about sacks and storyline. That's it.
Storylines is crazy.
Like, I could argue, I would argue, Myles Garrett to me is the best defensive player in football. He's been the best defensive player in football. I don't think last year was his best year at all. I don't think he should have won defensive MVP. I think there are other years he should have won, and last year he shouldn't have. Last year was his turn.
It was his turn.
It was so stupid.
Facts. It was his turn. Like somebody, it's always one or two people that get out in front of it and say, you know what, Myles Garrett this year, I mean, he's been great, but I really feel this year particularly.
I went through that with MVP voting in the NBA for years.
Right.
I voted LeBron every year. Every year
You were right.
I voted LeBron.
You were right. They were wrong.
I don't care that James Harden hasn't won one yet.
Right.
LeBron's best player in the league.
Or
That's
Russell
it.
Westbrook.
Or Russell.
You know, like I don't know what, I'm not sure. Is Giannis, not Giannis, is Jokic having another great season statistically?
Yeah,
There'll be people who just won't vote for him because he's won 3 in a row.
He's having maybe his best season to date.
Right, but there'll be people who won't vote for him. He's won 3 in a row. I can't vote for him again. And I don't know if he deserves it or not. I don't watch the other NBA teams enough to know who should be the winner. But it's stupid. If you're voting against someone because they've won it before, that's idiotic.
I agree.
How does Kobe
Real
have
quick.
one MVP?
Yeah, that's insane.
Bull, right now,
That's insane.
you ready for this on just
Yeah.
the Jokic numbers real quick? He's third in the NBA in scoring,
Yeah.
first in rebounds, and second in assists.
Oh, that's
Okay.
stupid.
Yeah. I mean,
I know those are traditional numbers, and we just said we don't love traditional numbers.
He's
but-
a center, bro. He's second in assists.
He's top
I
three
actually think traditional numbers in basketball, to me,
are the most relevant.
are more relevant than in baseball and football.
I mean, all I know is I hear what you're saying, and
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of it. During timeouts, LeBron's sitting on the scores table looking at that stat sheet. They all do.
sure.
The players are sitting there looking at that.
Sure.
They're looking at points, rebounds, and assists
Because that's what
factors into their contract.
100%. I got you.
I have one last question, but real
Yeah.
quick on Jokic again. Career high in points per game, career high in rebounds per game. Not career high, second most in rebounds, career high in assists per game. He's shooting 57% from floor and 54% from three.
Who's even in the conversation for MVP with
It's
him?
15 games in. Who
Yeah,
cares?
it's
I
way
don't
too-
even
No,
know
yeah,
who
it's
else
true.
is.
It's way
but,
The narrative hasn't been written yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait till that.
the question on the Cavs, though, then we'll move
Yeah.
on to Jerry Jeudy and his potential revenge game against the Broncos.
Revenge game. That's
We're going to get to
wild.
it. Are you expecting a bounce-back win? It's 2:30 tip-off.
Yes.
NBA TV. Coming off a stinker, will they come back and beat the
Yes.
Hawks in the rematch?
I'm expecting a win.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think they
What are
will.
they favored by today?
5.5.
Oh, that's
5.5.
it?
They were 10.5 point
Oh,
favorites
they're on the
and lost
road. That's
outright.
right.
in Atlanta. It's an NBA Cup game. If the Hawks win this game, they clinch the Group C spot in the NBA Emirates Cup, which I know we're all locked into. So.
Locked in, baby.